Greetings, everybody. My name is Lance, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if this is your first time. On this channel, one of the things I enjoy highlighting is the richness and beauty of Black American culture and history. And when I say Black Americans on this channel, I am very specifically referring to those of us that are descendants of enslaved Africans in the United States who served as the economic and cultural foundation of this country, or another definition, those of us Black Americans with centuries of legacy on this land that extends well beyond the 1800s, because I do acknowledge that not all of our ancestors were enslaved, and also some of them were already here. But without further ado, let's get into this video where I'll be talking about Juneteenth, a Black American holiday. So, what is it and why is it so significant? Now, before I get into it, I do want to address two controversies that I tend to see surrounding the holiday within our community. So, things that I see us saying. And I just want to get my two ashy pennies on it, my perspective. And the first one that I see often is that Juneteenth is only for Black people from Texas. And this is false, false, false. Now, hear me out. While Juneteenth is 100% undeniably, it has its origins in Texas, the celebration is not limited to Black Texans for two reasons. The first being the Great Migration of Black Americans, hello, out of the South into northern, midwestern, and western cities. And essentially, what I'm saying is that historically, we have had Black people from Texas as well as Black people that are a part of the Texas diaspora, which I'll get into in a second, all over the country. And keeping in mind, with them and their movement, they brought cultural elements of Texas and they brought them into the communities that they settled in. For me specifically, I have personally honored Juneteenth for years. Well before it became a federal holiday, I knew what it was when I was at college in North Carolina at A&T State University. Shout out Aggie Pride. I kept the Juneteenth flag on my wall in my apartment. And to give you an example of what I mean about that great migration in the Texas diaspora, my maternal grandfather, rest in power, was born in East Texas. Now, he moved to LA. I can't think of the year. It probably was the 1950s. I don't even know. But, he moved to LA as a part of that great migration out the South. And I, his grandson, was born in LA. Therefore, I am a part of that Texas diaspora by way of him, and it's very possible that my ancestors could have been there in Galveston, Texas, right? So, like I said, I'm a part of that Texas diaspora, and here in LA, Juneteenth has been a big thing for decades, especially in Leimert Park to be specific. So, this whole notion of gatekeeping Black American culture from other Black Americans is just ridiculous. We should absolutely honor the origins of things and give credit where it's due, but that does not mean to keep or exclude from each other these important community celebrations like Juneteenth. And I also want to say, too, I feel like with social media, honestly, a lot of regional distinctions in Black American culture are just kind of going to continue to blur. But that's really another video and another topic. Ultimately, historically and culturally speaking, Black Americans, we all have our roots in the South, pretty much, right? And my second point to this whole notion of other Black people shouldn't celebrate Juneteenth, it's only for Black Texans, is that, let's be honest, Juneteenth, while yes, it took place in Texas, it had a national, or it has national implications, right? Black people were not free until all Black people were free. Therefore, Juneteenth is a celebration for all Black Americans, not just Black Texans. And again, it's been celebrated for decades outside of Texas. Now, second thing that I just want to briefly touch on before I get really into the video is this question that I see, or this thought that comes out, and it's like, Why are we celebrating a day in which white people, quote unquote, gave us freedom? And first of all, I want to really say nobody gave Black Americans freedom. Freedom was absolutely fought for from the second our ancestors were trafficked into this country, however that may have happened. From that, the second that happened, there was a constant fight for freedom, and our ancestors demonstrated nothing but resilience throughout that fight. And there are several examples of this in history, and that would definitely need to be another video. But Juneteenth is really a celebration of the culmination of this fight. Now, granted, right? Given our numbers in this country as minorities, something like a Haitian revolution just would have never been possible on a wide, countrywide US scale. So, yes, there was some institutional backing needed to end slavery, but nothing, and I mean nothing, was ever given to Black Americans in this country, not even reparations. And truly, I'm a personal believer that the fight is really not over until the debt is paid. And some people may say, well, slavery ended, but we still ain't free. And I agree with that. There is some validity to that statement, but to ask that question or to frame Juneteenth in such this perverse way is just a major disrespect to our ancestors and everything that they fought for and represented and all the progress that they made. So I'll just leave that there. I'm very passionate about ancestors. So, but enough of my rant. Let's go ahead and get into Juneteenth. What is it? The history and why is it so significant to Black America and America as a whole, and even just globally. So Juneteenth is short for June 19th and marks the day when federal troops marched into Galveston, Texas in 1865 to ensure all formerly enslaved people were aware of their freedom. So the significance though of this event is that it took place 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. Y'all forgive me. I'm trying to work on enunciating more in these videos, but it took place 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation was issued in 1863. Now, what the Emancipation Proclamation stated was that I don't know why that trips me up so much. Stated was that all enslaved people in Confederate states were now free. Now, at this time in America, you had free states, which were a part of the Union, and then you had slaveholding states, which were a part of the Confederacy. And side note that I just want to throw in there, being a black person in the Union was not easy either. Nor was the Civil War about fighting to end slavery from a moral standpoint, like some people like to portray it to be, but that is a different video. Also, I do want to make the distinction in case someone is maybe confused on the difference or just doesn't know. The Emancipation Proclamation, I said it right that time without stuttering, outlawed slavery in the Confederacy, and the 13th Amendment outlawed slavery in the entire country, with the caveat of it being legal if you were deemed a criminal, and that's a separate video. But let's get back to Juneteenth. So, Juneteenth honors the end of slavery in the US, and I'm very confident. I believe that it is the oldest Black American holiday. I don't think that there's any celebration or holiday that predates Juneteenth for Black America. But Juneteenth is also called Black Independence Day, Freedom Day, Emancipation Day, as well as Jubilee Day. And it's really Black America's 4th of July, right? So the first celebration took place in 1866 in Texas, and it was a community gathering that consisted of food, music, parades, dancing, spirituals, fireworks, and sports. And one of the traditions, and I'm not sure if people still do this today, I just haven't personally seen it, but I read about it. One of the traditions is slash was reading the Emancipation Proclamation itself. Now, over time, and I touched on this with the Great Migration, the celebration spread to different parts of the country, and in 1980 was officially recognized in Texas. Now, I'm big on language and the importance of language when we represent parts of history, and I really do resent using the word official because Juneteenth was always official, but I think if you're watching this video, you of course understand what I mean. And in 2021, Juneteenth became officially recognized as a federal holiday and a national holiday. So Juneteenth is really a reminder of this nation's history, the importance of freedom, and also this nation's resistance to fully extending the rights of freedom to Black Americans. Now, one thing to note, it's also important to note about Juneteenth and the era in which the holiday was first celebrated is the Freedmen's Bureau, which was created during the Reconstruction era. Where, if you don't know about the Reconstruction era, it's essentially a time where I want to say it was between 1863 and 1890, where a lot of different things that never came to fruition were supposed to. And these are things like 40 acres and a mule, which was basically supposed to be reparations. Now, I do want to say there were some really good things that came from the Freedmen's Bureau. So we saw the right to vote. Um, we did see, food, housing, and medical aid provided to formerly enslaved people, as well as legal assistance. So on things like reconnecting families that were split up during slavery, and even recognizing marriages that took place during slavery, but that, of course, weren't recognized in the eyes of the law. So good things did come, but ultimately and unfortunately, the Reconstruction's efforts were thwarted by white supremacists. And one thing that I do want to make very clear, that's a goal on this channel, is to never center or focus on white people or really anyone else for that matter. My goal is really just to focus on highlighting the beauty that is Black Americans. But, white supremacy is an unfortunate reality of our history. And while I pretty much never say those two words, I don't really receive them nor acknowledge them. And I don't really believe in speaking life into such a concept. I did have to go ahead and say it in this video. But to kind of conclude everything, Juneteenth is now really a time for us to honor our ancestors and to really reflect on what it means to be an extension of them. So for some of us, this means a community gathering. And for others, it just might mean a day off to relax and to engage in self care. And ultimately, I believe Juneteenth is a day where we want to celebrate and exemplify what our ancestors didn't have yet fought for us to have, which is freedom. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. Like, comment, subscribe. A fun fact is that in 2022, the Juneteenth parade that took place in LA, I was actually a part of it and on the news. And if I can find that news clip, I'm gonna go ahead and include it in this video. But if not, it was such a cool experience. We started at Inglewood High School, and I'm trying to think. Damn, I'm kind of out of breath too for talking so damn much. But yeah, we started at Inglewood High School. We went up Manchester, La Brea, Slauson, Crenshaw, and it was just such a cool, beautiful experience. So I hope I can find and include that. I also hope that you enjoyed this video and just have a beautiful, blessed rest of your day, night, morning, whatever it is. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate and love you. Bye.